We are live. Welcome to another edition of Preeminence Rising and the G-Spot. G-Spot is for genius, grace, and greatness. And it's what it takes to be truly a legacy leaver, an impact maker. And you know, preeminent ones, my preeminent lovelies, that I give you the best. Well, I've got the best today. Excuse me. I've got the Queen herself. I've got the absolute Queen herself. She is Queen of the Impact Makers. She is also Queen of the Wealthy and Spiritual Entrepreneurs. She is a luscious, gorgeous lady, accomplished, successful, and she's having the courage in this crazy, crazy shift of paradigm to do something that is very bold and courageous, but we're going to keep that as a surprise for you. So I just want to go, before I introduce her, I was reminded earlier on of a quote by Jim Carrey, in which he says that everybody should be rich and famous and do everything that they dream of, just to realize that it isn't the answer. And that, I think, is such a poignant point, and one that, because everybody assumes that when you get to be successful, wealthy, famous, everything, that you've got all of life worked out. So we are going to give you another perspective on that with somebody who's really, really well-versed to talk about that. The gorgeous Queen herself, Gina Devee. Welcome, my lovely.
Jenny, my goodness, what a warm and generous introduction. Thank you so much for that, and thank you for having me as well.
Well, we've got, of course, the enormous surprise that you're not just joining us for this incredible session that we're going to have today, but also to share the journey of whatever unfolds and how that can help our audience as we move forward in the months to come, hopefully for the long haul. So let's dive in. What has happened recently that has really shifted your own perspective about where you are with what you've accomplished, and and everything that you've done? Because you've done everything. You've spoken on global stages, best-selling author, highly esteemed, successful business coach for women. So what is it that's actually happened?
That is a great question that I ask the universe every single day. To give people a little bit of context, yes, I started my career as a broke, struggling psychotherapist because I really was always lit up about human potential transformation, and I wanted to help other people transform their lives. And it's always easier to focus on someone else, so I created a career out of that. And then I realized I really also needed to focus on the areas that my own life needed transformed. And so much of that was around self-esteem, self-worth, my money transformation. Well, at that time, it was my mother's story, my man's story. It was all of it. And I've been very blessed along the way. It really is when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And at every juncture, I was like, okay, I'm ready to call in my soulmate. Then shows up Catherine Woodward Thomas, and okay, I'm ready to transform my money story. And so many incredible mentors along the way. And, I want to grow exponentially. Marianne Williamson shows up. So I've been blessed to be able to have these great leaders show me how to create incredible transformation in my life. And then I've been very blessed to be able to be that light to many others in the form of, allegedly in the form of business building. But I do always say, if you want the best personal development seminar on the planet, start your own business. So yes, it's allegedly been a business coach that I've been for the past 15 years, but really more transformational coach. And have loved it. As you said, I did it in a very out of the box way, did it in a very luxurious way. I've hosted private dinners in front of the pyramids and retreats on yachts in Mykonos, and have been so blessed to be able to do my work all across the world. And when 2020 hit, so many of my programs had live components to it. No big deal. It was just another pivot. I mean, for entrepreneurs, that's what we've been pulling rabbits out of hats and pivoting. We're course correcting 90% of the time. So that wasn't 2020, of course, was a big deal in all the ways that it was for all of us globally. But in terms of my business, pivoting from seminars to digital was not a big deal. And then 2021 came. And I did not anticipate it. And I think probably just everything that I was doing wasn't working. It was no longer filled with joy. I mean, there was meaning because I was still working in this capacity, and the meaningful relationships with clients were still there. But I found myself just being bored with some of the content and the subject matter that we were interacting around. And then also with certain launches, it was so vulnerable and frustrating. I was working harder than ever for, smaller results than ever. And I was like, this is supposed to be the prime of my life. Like, I've paved the way for these past 15 to 20 years. Like, these should be the glory days, not like struggle bus central like it was at the beginning. And what created so much of the struggle was my own resistance. Because I was white knuckling it. I was tight gripped. Because my programming is always find a way, create a solution, dust yourself off. Giving up is not an option. And so I just unconsciously assumed that was another one of those times. But it was more excruciating this time. It wasn't a dust yourself off. It was an ache of the soul. It was a combination of I'm miserable, but wait, I need to hold on to this. I need to make this work. But if this doesn't work, who am I? What would I do? How do I make money? Like all of the questions. And I in January of 2021, I wasn't willing to go there. And so I decided just to cry every day and torture myself and my poor husband. And then because, what you resist persists, then February came around and everything became so much more amplified. People that were very, very meaningful to me were ghosting me, and team members were quitting on top of business not working in the way that I was used to it working. And so in February, I just sobbed every day, went from crying to sobbing because I was still in such resistance. My ego was so into making this thing work that on one level, I knew I actually didn't even want anymore, but I wasn't. It almost felt like a romantic relationship. Like, I don't want to be in this relationship, but I don't want to get broken up with. Kind of, it was just this tight grip. And then March, my father went into the hospital. And fortunately, having my own business, I was able to go and be at his bedside in the hospital. And it was in that process of having like nights alone in the hotel room near the hospital and watching him at his age beds, it's like, what am I doing with my life and what is life about? And I know it sounds a little cliche, but it was what happened for me. And I finally, Jenny, released into a state of surrender. I'm not great at surrender. I'm great at making things happen, but I'm not, well, or was. I'm not great at surrender. And fortunately, I really did go for God on this one. And I didn't give up, and I didn't let settle. I didn't think that my best days were behind me. I really said, dear God, I surrender all into your hands. And as soon as I did, there was relief. As soon as I did, I got the clarity that this is an end of an era. And that was, so to be specific for those watching, I realized it was an end of an era for me as a business coach. And to anyone, it might not be like, great, Gina, we'll pick another, but it's what I thought that it was all I knew. Like, it was my identity. It was my way of earning income. It was my way of filling up my days and having satisfaction. So to have this thing like no longer be a thing was a big deal to me. But I accepted the divine assignment and I was no longer in resistance. So I said, okay. And I just started noticing, well, this program ends in June and this program could end in June, and maybe I'll just complete this program in June. And so that was March of 2021. And so by June of 2021, my life/professional life, because is there really a difference between personal and professional? It will not, it will come to completion in the form that I've known it. And I think anybody that has, completed any kind of relationship, like professional or otherwise, it's uh, it's it's an end of an era, but it's not an ending. And I think that's what I had to come in terms with. So we can talk about next steps, but this is the epiphany that has come to me so far in 2021, that I know it is complete or will be completing. I don't know exactly what's next. And I'm choosing to live in peace, in bliss, actually, um, in knowing that it will be revealed and it will come in. And different inklings have started to come in even sooner than I anticipated, but I'm really not even allowing the temptation to go there. Like, any of my friends or team or that I've even told this to, like, but what are you going to do next? I'm like, whoa, like that's my job to freak out about, and I'm not even freaking out. So you need to relax, girlfriend. And the most confident answer I can give is I don't know.
So I want to weigh some of these stages because they're so important, and I think that there's at least three in what you just said that are really, really important for women to hear. And we're talking to women specifically. One of those is this white knuckling thing that we do as an entrepreneur, making it up as we go along. You're just like so attached to our dreams, so attached to our visions. I mean, like umbilical cord attached to our dreams so much that we will put ourselves in out of balance to attain them if we feel strongly enough about it, and that can serve for a time. It can certainly serve for a time, and yes, like yourself, we get good at it. We just get good at it. In fact, sometimes we don't even notice we're doing it anymore because it becomes a way of being. Would you agree?
Completely. It is a skill set that entrepreneurs do. I don't know about white knuckling per se, but pulling rabbits out of hats, making it happen, course correcting, not even giving any time and attention to what's not working and figure out the solution. So that, yes, that's a necessary skill set to survive as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And then the next thing that you mentioned was how much we attach our identity to that vision as well as we actually become it. And I totally agree. For me, there is no difference between our business and our lifestyle. When our business becomes our lifestyle and our lifestyle becomes our business, and we are in an era where so much more business is vocation orientated. So that's a really interesting one, and I think that's the number one thing that takes so much courage, which you are currently demonstrating, is to be able to detach from that and actually just talk us through that a little bit. This whole experience of, well, if I'm not that, then who am I?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think so much of it is rooted in fear and a lack mentality. When I write about different archetypes in my book, and so much of the archetype that I let run the show for so long was this concept around settling. And at the beginning, I was just so afraid that there weren't clients out there for me. I just thought I had to take whoever I could get. I thought I had to make a deal and give whatever discounted rate I could get. And so there was this, there wasn't a big thinking mentality as much as I had big dreams, like probably everybody here. I had a very small mindset around what was actually possible for me. And so I think that, it's like the slinky, you're in the same spot, just at a, different level of it. And I I wasn't in big thinking mentality. I think that part of it is society, that like I feel like better than I've ever felt in my life, physically, emotionally, romantically, all things. And it's like, I'm like, but I'm 48. I can't just go start X, Y, or Z career wise was like the inklings in my head because of what I've learned from society. Well, I'm just going to go start over right now. You know, it's like, Gina, that's ridiculous. And yet that was part of the leading of spirit, was to start something new. And I know enough about life to know that there's a through line. So it's not like everything I've done in the past won't be there. But I had to really work with myself to understand that this thing that used to be 100% of me, my life, my identity, it was that because that was my divine assignment for that time. And now it's like probably meant to be, I don't know, 3 to 5%, and which leaves all this space for the new. And when we can get out of the fear and just open up to limitless possibility, we remember that we live in a void universe. If you take a rock out of the ocean's going to immediately sweep in. So if I take out 97% of what I thought my identity or career or calling or fulfillment was, then the universe is going to bring me 97 more percent of whatever fresh new next level is meant to come in for me. A book that I've been reading that's really helped me kind of ground into this concept, it's called The Second Mountain. And you know, our society is so youth obsessed, and you know, you make it and then, you know, fall from grace and then you're over. And but the truth is everybody loves a comeback story, even more than the first glory days anyways. But the concept of the first mountain is everybody goes to the first mountain, or goes for the first mountain, and it doesn't matter your age, and it doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter your gender. It's like, it's that first, like, whatever your version of fame, stardom, money, achievement, goals, success, you get to that top of that first mountain, and then you're feeling really great about yourself. And I did it. And I know a lot of people said, oh, I got there and it didn't mean anything. That wasn't my experience. I wasn't like, is this all there is? Like, for me, my mountaintop experiences were amazing, and I just wanted more of them, or so I thought. I loved my clients. I loved the travel. I loved the work. I loved the transformation. But then the book talks about, inevitably, everybody gets thrown off that first mountain, crawls off that first mountain, gets kicked off the first mountain. Like, something happens where you end up in the valley again. And it doesn't matter the age. You know, teenage pop stars can go through this, and people in their 20s, all different ages. And he talks about most people never get to the second mountain, which is actually the real mountain, because we create these identities for ourselves, like, well, I'm a failure, or I'm a has-been, and well, you know, I had my glory days and it's okay for them to be behind me. And most people don't realize that the real mountain for your soul's destiny is the second mountain. The first one was important, it was meaningful, and it was the stepping stone to get you to your second mountain. And the second mountain is really the one that's meant to be, you know, your legacy, what's so fulfilling, what brings together all of the aspects of you, not just those first mountain achievement stepping stones. So when I'm paraphrasing obviously, but when I've been reading this book, it's brought me great comfort to help kind of make sense of where I'm at, in the valley in between mountains, to not give up for what the real destiny is about.
I've got a great metaphor for that I think that you'll really appreciate, because me and my partner and I climb a lot of mountains around here, as I live I live in the middle of them, and there's so many of them. You're looking at a peak, you're looking at a horizon, shall we say, and it's not until you get to that horizon, which is already at altitude, that you start to see the next peak. Mm-hmm. And it's the same mountain, it's not another mountain. And then you go, oh, this isn't it. This isn't the top. Oh, okay, well, we'll just buckle up and climb some more. And then the same happens, you get to that one, and then all of a sudden this huge, monstrous peak looms up at you, and you go, Okay, right. Okay. I'd forgotten that there were 3 or 4 of these. Like how, and then you get to the third one, you go, and you see this, and you see that you're still not at the top. And your memory is kind of, well, it took us 4 hours to get up here, and you're going, how many peaks are there? And what you're describing feels very much like that. Is that you can be obscure, you can have the next step obscured, which is fine because you're concentrating on the first one and using all of your strength, resources, energy, everything to get up to that mountain. And then you realize that there's something bigger, and you haven't even taken the first step yet. So it really kind of, when you were talking, that it feels like that. And it's so interesting because I know this is very recent. And over the last year, Gina, interviewing like yourself, people who've really accomplished so much, so many amazing things and had amazing adventures, I've seen them come to a very similar space. Including the fear, including the not knowing, including the now what, the void, as you said. I think it's a really good. So what I'm inclined to say is that having money doesn't cushion people from this experience of getting to a stage and then finding out that your soul wants you to go on another trajectory, or to alter your trajectory. And so let's just talk about that a little bit, because you've decided that, or that something came, you were inspired, you told me yesterday that this is a surrender to a divine process, a divine a process that or a divine transformation, or a divine something bigger. And for sure it is, because we know it's universal. So, and I know that this transformation, nobody is waterproofed from that at all, whatever their level of income. So let's just explore that a little bit for our listeners, for your audience as well. What it feels like and what it takes, because you're a strong person, you've done psychology training, to live in this kind of suspension.
It's so good. It's so good. It's I thought that I lived in it before, and there were moments and inklings and like a little layer of it. I don't know, it might be like if someone thought that they were in love and then they like really meet the love of their life. And the dance with the divine that I am doing right now, I've never consistent I woke up excited about the work that I was doing before. This is a different level of it. Like now I wake up, I think I like the form of what I played in before, what I was so connected to my happiness and joy, and to now not have form and to wake up in even greater bliss feels like such a gift. I so one of the things that I'm doing is not talking about specifics, because I think that this is really an important sacred part of the feminine process. And in our culture of just either oversharing or feeling like we need to share everything at all times, there's details of my path right now that I'm not sharing publicly, so that these little flames don't get snuffed out, because I know that they're fragile right now. I know if someone looks at me like in the wrong way, I'm gonna be like, oh, I probably shouldn't do that, I probably am crazy. So It's a very inward dance with the divine, where I wake up every day in full trust. There's like little inklings at different times that will come in, and it'll be like, but I won't let it take root. It's like, well, what if you're crazy? What if this doesn't really work out? What if like your next mountain isn't even bigger and whatever? So most of the time I wake up in full bliss. I'm more committed to my morning routine than ever. It's extended in time a bit because I'm really immersing that way. And I'm asking every day to be dazzled by God. And so just like, what is today about? Like, and so because I am still coaching on a coaching day, it's like, well, be of service today. And then on days where I have like nothing on my calendar, like I'll just wake up and say, well, what is today about? And I'm like led to read this or led to do that or led to be this. Um and I don't need to know right now. Well, kind of one of the cool things with God is like, I'm like, okay, so by June 2021, my life as a business coach will be over. I'm going to take, for the first time in my life, I'm going to take 2 months off. I'm going to take July and August off. And I thought I was going to go to Europe and just do nothing. And then I'm going to relax and I'm not going to worry. And in September, I'm going to figure out my life. And that was kind of like the deal I made with God from the hospital room in March. And God has a different plan. Like, as soon as I surrendered, this vision came in, the one that I'm not talking about publicly right now. And it's so beyond any of my wildest dreams. It's so big. It's beyond like impossible for me and of myself to manifest. So it's like, if there's any 1/1 millionth of this that ever comes to fruition, it will still be a complete God job, because it's nothing I ever thought about. It's nothing. And I just said yes. I didn't overthink it. I didn't make it wrong. I didn't go into the house. I just said yes. And when I said yes, these I don't want to call them breadcrumbs, because it's more than that. It's like fairy dust has shown up, and there's like a read this book or take this class or develop this skill set, call this person. And like, when I said that, like, people were leaving my life and ghosting me, like new introductions are coming in like not every day, but every week for sure. And so I'm I'm just being with the bliss. So this thing that I thought wasn't even going to show up, like guidance, until September, the universe is already providing plenty, plenty. And I'm not trying to pull the flower open to get it to bloom. I'm just singing to the seeds right now.
Beautiful. I could sit and listen to you all day, because it is truly I can feel the process, and I can only imagine the inspiration that you're getting. It's very. I've just been reading Jay Shetty's Think Like a Monk, and it reminds me of the kind of peace that the monks had, when they was just they're so unattached to anything except being of service. In fact, that's the overriding message of the book, is that being of service is the greatest gift of all. So just so we round this off and give it this beautiful transformation another context.
I just want to jump in on one thing, since we're talking archetypes. I do want to like be real clear to everyone, is like, zen as I might look and feel and sound right now, I'm still very much in my queen essence. Like, I've always joked, like, thank God I was given queen archetype, because I'm all about the royal robes and the castle and like, and the whole, like, and that I never did get monk as an archetype, because and good for, like, there's glory and beauty to every archetype, and everyone's gonna like vibe with their own. So I think one of the things that I was always so afraid of with surrender is that I'd have to like become this monk, like wear a burlap thing and like not care about materialism and the splendors of life. And I'm like, no. My version of surrender is like leaning even deeper into queenhood So I just want to say that for anyone freaking out that they like need
So,
to
that's all right. Jay Shetty's not knocking it out the ballpark. So,
get that money.
that's why he left the ashram. Just like, that's fine. But he's got some great points. So let's just kind of give this another context that we have touched on when we've been talking, and it goes much more into the towards queendom and beauty and luxury, and it's this whole renaissance energy that is happening for those who are tuned into it, those who are sensitive to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that there was actually an astrological configuration in December the 21st on the equinox that was the same as in 1409, I believe, when the world was seized by plagues and Black Death and the most awful disease, war everywhere, and stagnation in development and that sort of thing, and that there was this yearning in mankind for the arts and for beauty and for grace and for more learning as well, is that people could start to learn. And there is definitely something happening, that people are starting to open up. So your process sounds completely on point for this more kind of, and global
Reemergence.
a global emergence of people. I mean, we've even seen it in our own families, communities over the last year and a half, of people suddenly realizing that, coming back to finer values or family values, and realizing how lucky they are to have a beautiful home to stay in, or that they have gorgeous children, or that they have a healthy body, and coming back to values, and also appreciating that the world has actually caught up and ecology's caught up. So this is, without knowing it, you're still pioneering. You're still pioneering in your own personal individual process. And one thing that occurred to me when you were talking about that process was the fact that this is also a time where we start to drop labels and boxes, like, I am a such and such, or this is what I do. And within this kind of Renaissance energy is to open up to, I want to bring back music, or I want to bring back dance, or I want to bring back horse dancing, or I'm inspired to take my cookery up to a new level, or whatever is that. And let's maybe you could just talk about that, and then we could bring it back. I think one of the most important things that you said right in the beginning was that we still do live in a world of infinite possibilities, whatever's going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I wrote my master's thesis on living life unlimitedly. And so it's always been a very deep soul search for what does that really mean. And, I went and accomplished those dreams. And so I thought I checked off those check boxes, and I really thought that was it. Like, that was my version of living life unlimitedly. And I do believe that globally there's two sets of people happening right now, and there's going to be a real great divide when the world does open up. And it's all the people that are just like, let me just get these kids back to school, let me just go back to life as normal, I just want to go see my girlfriends again, I want to like put on shoes, I just want to get my life back. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that, except for I don't believe that we went through this opportunity to have a metamorphosis globally to go back to anything. Just like my individual life as I know it is complete. I believe that globally and collectively life as we knew it is never going to be the same. And I think that the people that are going in that direction and reaching for that, they're going to be very disappointed. And they're also going to be left behind for what was actually meant to come from this experience. And then there's a whole other sector of people, obviously your readers and listeners and mine as well, who know that. And we might be in varying degrees of confidence or like, oh, what do I do-ness around it. But if you can muster up the courage to know that the new life is always better than the old, and to know that as you evolve, as you move forward, as you listen to your own divine guidance, as you get your own divine assignments for this new world, this new era, Renaissance means a rebirth, and it's all in that rebirthing that there is new next level. And who doesn't want a next level that's even greater than what they've already experienced? We must have the courage, and we must challenge ourselves to not reach back to skill sets, mentalities, ideas, beliefs, social circles, ways of doing business that is just comfortable and familiar, and to lean into the unfamiliar where it's always awkward before it's elegant. But I'm going for elegant, so I'm willing to do awkward in the meantime.
Beautiful. Well, I think that's going to leave people with a lot to think about, and a lot to feel, and a lot to lean into. So, is there anything else that you'd like to add? We're going to put all the links to your book and any other resources that you've got. So that's all taken care of. Is there anything else that comes to you right now that you just like to add, Gina?
Well, now that you mentioned the book is called The Audacity to Be Queen, The Unapologetic Art of Dreaming Big and Manifesting Your Most Fabulous Life. And in 2004, I left Detroit to move to California to write my book, or so I thought. And I didn't know that the universe would take me on my own journey of becoming queen. And my version of becoming queen means becoming the best version of yourself. And it took it took until March 3rd, 2020 for the book to come out. And at first I was devastated, of course, that I waited 20 years to have my first book come out during the first week of a global pandemic. And then I dropped into the principles that are in the book, that there are no mistakes. And I do these exercises. One of them is called I'm Thrilled This Is Happening Because. And so much of what I write about in the book is that the age of queen is now. And I didn't realize when I wrote it, of course, what was going to be happening or the time that it was going to come out into the world. So for anyone wondering, like, what is possible for you? How can you live this better life? The book is filled with prayers and meditations and exercises and funny stories, like about my mistakes and client triumphs and all these different archetypes that really illumine the option. You can be the princess or you can be the queen. You can be the martyr, you can be the queen. You can, there's so many in there. So I think that for us all to deepen into what does it look like really, not what we thought it was, but what does it look like really to be the best version of you, and to lean into that and safeguard that. And it will take you really mothering it. For example, like I've started a workout practice, and before, if I needed to do something early or take a meeting or do a client in another time zone or whatever, I would just always bump that. And I've learned to really protect and mother. And we think that mothering is a feminine energy. It's not. It's actually a masculine energy. The masculine energy is about providing and protecting. So women of small children, they're very much in their masculine energy. And so I want you to mother habits. I want you to mother dreams. I want you to mother the essence of you that needs protected, so that you do have enough time, you have enough space, you have enough resources for your best life experience. Because too often women have been told, just if there's enough time or money left over, then you can think about yourself. And my book talks about the opposite being the most generous act.
Couldn't agree more with that one. Self-care, and it has to come from us first. So
Self-prioritizing, yeah.
totally, totally. Well, thank you, my lovely Gina. That was Queen Gina. That was absolutely exquisitely articulated, this journey and the vulnerability and honesty that you've shown in opening yourself up, because this is going to be a revelation, and also to say quite honestly that you don't know what comes next. So we'll
But we'll be here for the journey together. It's always amazing being in your presence, and I know it's no coincidence that our paths crossed for such a time as this, that this unfolding will be revealed when it's time.
Absolutely, yes. So anybody who's listening, you are in such good hands. Such good hands. So okay, that was absolutely fabulous. I thank you so much, and we can't wait to see more of you in whatever what's the word not coming to me right now, whatever different, it's evaded me, in whatever form that comes. We can't wait as well, because it's just it's beautiful to behold and heartwarming. So
Well, the
thank you.
honor's been mine, Jenny. Thank you so much.